Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have a pretty cool review for you guys from an awesome brand called Yema, which has been popping up everywhere these days. It's in my feed. I got people asking me about it. I got people telling me about it. So guess what? Had to reach out to Yema, find out what the big deal is. And I gotta say, I can understand why everybody is asking about this brand of watch. Now, Yema is a historic brand. They're actually French watchmaking since 1948. I believe they're a revival brand. I don't think they've made watches continuously. They're back and they're reissuing tons of cool pieces, this being one of them. This is, of course, a dive watch. Now, some key common characteristics in design language. When you're looking for a dive watch, you're going to want, of course, water resistance. Normally through some type of screw down crown, you want something that's tough, legible, has a dive time bezel, and a diver's extension if on bracelets. This particular model is called the Navygraf Heritage, which is basically a 1970s reissue, which is now equipped with an in-house movement. Yes, guys, this bad boy is equipped with a French in-house movement. Crazy. I can't crack the case back on this bad boy, but I will leave links so you guys can see. It's a pretty impressive looking movement, and the tolerances are also pretty legit. Not to jump around too much, but this thing is plus or minus 6 seconds a day, and that's after being fine-tuned, because the base tolerances untuned are plus or minus 12 seconds a day, which is pretty impressive, especially for a watch that is under $750 technically, because it's $749 at least on bracelet. You can even get it even cheaper, around $690 if you just want it on a cool leather strap. But I think this bracelet's very unique. It tapers down pretty drastically. And as you're going to see, when it's on the wrist, it really completes the vintage look and vibe. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a closer look. All right, guys. So as you can see, I actually wanted to put, because I was actually so impressed. Before we get to this bad boy, man, look at this. Nice leather travel case is actually what it comes in. So it gives you a useful box that isn't just going to sit in your closet. Pretty cool, you know. It's got the little wow. Oh. You might go back and figure out what's on there. I don't really care. Anyways, so then it has of course the instruction manual, and then there's a cool place for your watch. Really nice. I was impressed with that, so that's why I wanted to put it in frame. Very cool. Check it out. Look at that, the stitching. Nice and uniform. This thing is well put together. Pretty impressed. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, check this out. Now, the Navygraf Heritage. This thing retails for $749 direct from Yema. And the cool thing is that's the price on bracelet. You're not going to pay more than $750 for this thing on bracelet. And look at that bracelet. Let's look at the scale on this bad boy, guys. 39 millimeters? What a freaking classic size. Look at this multi-piece case with the high top hat, high functioning, nicely grippable bezel. Then you got the thin mid case. Then you got your awesome, very cool little etched case back, the high polish seal on it. You got your super thin, look at these links. Look how thin these bad boys are. Look at that brushing. Oh yeah, low light transition time comes. Be prepared to be impressed by that brushing, guys. Pretty legit. Look at that dramatic taper. Down to 16. That's a Rolex taper right there, guys. Down to 16 millimeters, down at the clasp. Very, very nice. Adds a ton to the comfort, and of course completes the whole vintage vibe you're going for when you put together something like this. So 39 millimeters wide, 12 millimeters thick, with a 47 millimeter lug to lug. Not too shabby, especially considering that the way the links go, it does do a nice job of bending a bit down and tapering and trying to grab back onto that wrist. But you guys will see how that wears on my 7 1/4 inch wrist a little bit later. Now the sapphire crystal, nice and flat, also has got some AR coating, but it also has a sapphire bezel insert. And this bad boy is also loomed. It's such an interesting look, right? It's not just patinaed loom. This is colored loom. It's not just, oh, well, this loom is to try to look old and baked and everything. This is actually just play of colors. It has some nice burnt orange tones on it and some yellow, and it just has a really nice warm color palette. Then you look at the dial, it's not completely black. It has that nice shade of almost a gray when the light catches it. This is a really well executed color palette, and I gotta say, this thing looks really cool. Looks very vintage. It feels vintage with the lightness and you know, just the general feel. It's not super jangly. It's a little bit, but it doesn't feel cheap by any means. So very impressive on that side. Now you also do have that side screw down crown, of course. Now inside the movement, they call it the MBP1000. Can't see it, but you can go to the website and check it out. It has 31 joules, 4 hertz sweep, so you're going to get 8 ticks per second like you would out of a nice standard beat movement. Not a low beat, not quite a high beat, not 10 big ticks a second, not 6 ticks a second, not less than that. We're talking 8 ticks a second, so really nice. You can see a nice smooth sweep with that nice electric yellow seconds hand. Very cool. Now the bezel is 120 clicks. Let's hear it. Ooh, nice and tight. Oh yeah, that's part of the design. Look at that. Even with the gloves on, I can just grab this bad boy. Does it line up in the middle? Sure does. It sure does. So very, very nice. Now, as far as the dial goes, as we were talking about, it is that nice matte black. It has printed indices. The superluminova on there is C5. I'm guessing that means orange. And then this thing is actually 300 meters water resistant, which is really cool. As you can see, 990 feet or 30 bar, or however you want to measure it. Really nice. I'm digging all of the all the font choices and the balance on the dial. This is handsome, man. Look at that little France right there at the 6 o'clock. That's a good looking watch. And they have other options that I think are arguably even more handsome. I do enjoy kind of the rest of their catalog. Hopefully I'll be able to review more of this brand because I think they're doing some really cool things. Now the case back is solid, of course, so you can't see through it, but it has that really cool stamp to it. Nice polish on there. As you can see, solid end links. Now moving on to the bracelet. 19 millimeter lugs. Not going to make everybody happy, but guess what? 18 millimeter stuff will fit. 20 millimeter stuff can be smushed. It will fit. It will be fine, guys. You'll be fine. And it already has a metal bracelet. If you want to squeeze it on anything else, that's fine. You can do that. It'll fit a 20 millimeter NATO. Come on. Don't get too upset. Now, as far as this bracelet is really, really nice flat brushing there. And look at the finish. H-link. Very nice and tight. Very handsome. Then you got down to this signed flip lock clasp here. Pretty standard affair, except for the fact that it's nice and thin. Okay, I got gloves on, a little harder to tackle. But one thing that you maybe weren't expecting is nice solid milled diver's extension. Very cool. Wasn't expecting that. Really going for it there. They could have easily not done that or done something stamped, and they probably would have got away with it with the whole vintage vibe. But it's nice to see that. That is a nice touch. Then you got the micro adjusts so you can make sure it fits. And as you can see, there's actually enough room in the clasp to use those micro adjusts. So that's really good. You can really tailor in a nice fit on this, as you'll see once we get it on wrist. So it has that beautiful down to 16 millimeter taper. Huge fan of that. You got this part. Of course, the folding portion nicely milled. This is stamped, but you know what? Keeps it thin. That's really nice. So let's go ahead and get this piece on the wrist. All right, check it out. 7¼ inch wrist. This thing wears really well. 39 millimeters. What a size. Who knew? Who knew you could make a 39 millimeter diver and make it look good like that? Well, I kind of did. I've been reviewing a couple recently that have been doing this very such thing. 39 millimeters, looking good, looking proper. Sits nicely on the wrist. As you can see, there is going to be a little bit of air and a little daylight that's going to come through on there as those lugs drape down. But you know what? Completely comfortable. That taper. I blame the taper, man. Look at that. I like to wear my watches lower on the wrist, so that taper is very important for me as far as my mobility with the watch. You can look at that finishing. Really nice. I mean, this isn't trying to be a luxury watch or anything. Don't get me wrong. This thing is not some super hot horology, you know, near luxury finish or anything. I mean, apart from the fact that it has an in-house movement, this is a really just solid tool watch. I mean, this thing is just a well put together tool watch. There's a little, I'd say maybe the fitment on the end link, although it butts up really well. I feel like there's just I can kind of move it a little bit. It's just, that'd be a nitpick. But I mean, honestly, this thing is probably just going to be a strap monster. Anyway, drilled lugs. Nice. Yeah, it's 19 millimeter lug width, but guess what? Still going to be easy to throw something on there with 20 millimeters. Even though it's 19, it's just going to have a nice snug fit. And you won't have to worry about getting a tool in between the strap and the watch case because you do have these holes there. See, they thought of everything. So you can smush a rubber strap on there, a nice tropic, a nice leather strap. Man, look at the way the light plays on this brushing. Ooh, that's good. All right, guys, but let's go ahead and move in to some low light transition. All right, let's go ahead and hit the lights. As you can see, not only is that sapphire bezel loomed, but it's loomed pretty nicely, right? C5, pretty good loom, I guess. Never heard of it, but very nice. Of course, one thing that's missing is the loomed seconds hand. So this isn't going to be something to where, you know, you're going to meet you're not going to check every single box because that's not loomed. But one of the things I like to do here, as you can see that initial kind of glow slowly start to dim and fade. What I like to do is kind of this thing I like to call low light transition, because you're not always going to have your watch indoors. Sometimes you're going to have it, not always going to have it outdoors in direct sunlight. Sometimes you're going to have it inside, maybe in your vehicle, maybe inside a building that doesn't have sweet lighting. So, and also my studio lights do a great job of washing out those little details in the brushing. But the low light gives you an idea. Look at how uniform and fine that brushing is. Man, that is nice. I'm loving this brushing. That super light, really petite bracelet just totally ties in and sells me on that vintage vibe. Let's go ahead and hit it with a little black light, a little closer, so you guys can just get an idea. Play a little game, a little transition. Look at that, just with a little extra blast to give you kind of an idea of how handsome that piece is going to be in the dark. The nice thing is those indexes are actually meant to mimic exclamation points. Like, hey, you're underwater. Time this. And honestly, you're not going to be in total darkness, so chances are, let's say you're underwater, you're going to have a little bit of light. You're going to see that nice orange seconds hand, because actually it's like I guess yellowish orange, whatever, orange seconds hand. Orange is actually one of the best, most readable colors underwater. It's funny because people love red accents on divers, but you know what? That is one of the first colors to become unlegible. Orange, that's the color. Yellow, another good color. So really nice. Very, oh man, the finishing. Very cool. I mean, it's nice to be impressed by a brushed finish. I mean, that's just a finely brushed finish. It fits everything. It just feels like a vintage watch. You know, it's nice. It's not overbuilt version. This is really as close to a vintage remanufactured watch with modern, of course, amenities, which is great. So it's going to be tougher, but it still has the thinness. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of the vintage inspired watches that get remade today are just a little bit bulkier, a little bit chunkier. Nothing wrong with that. But it's just something, if you're looking for that real vintage vibe, this could be it. This, or maybe another one of their, they got all types of cool models. So really impressed. And then this one is just a really cool looking piece. Very different. I'm digging, it just has that 70s vibe with the fully graduated indexes around the bezel there. And then you got the thing loomed. You have this really interesting kind of almost off-putting color palette that somehow works. I would never design a watch and say I want it with yellow hands, burnt orange loom. I wouldn't put that down on paper. But somehow this thing works, and I imagine it's going to go well with so many different straps because of the odd color pairings. This thing is going to just look great on a lot of different strap options, which is really cool. Again, 19 millimeters. Don't be too scared off, guys. 18 and 20 will fit. So come on, don't get too mad. But I get it. Why couldn't they just make them 20? Guys, Yema, are you listening? 20 millimeters would have been fine. If you could do that, that'd be great. See, okay, I asked for you guys, so I'm looking out for you. So with that said, let me know what you guys think of this video. Let me know what you think about the, of course, this watch. If you like the video, please do a like, and if you already, please subscribe for more content just like this. So let me know again what you guys think of the comments. I feel like this is just kind of a cool little piece, and I'd like to feature this brand more on the channel. If you're looking forward to that, definitely mention it in the comments. Give me a nice little push, and get this thing in circulation. Repost this bad boy. Let's shine light on brands like Yema that are really trying to do something really cool and interesting. They spent a lot of money developing an in-house movement, guys. That's pretty crazy. French in-house movement. I don't know. It's pretty nuts. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't even expecting that to be a selling point when it came to this watch. And then I was like, oh wow, it has an in-house movement. That's awesome. I would have been supremely impressed if this had just like a freaking, even a Seiko movement inside of it. I would have been like, that's a cool watch. The fact that it actually has an in-house movement makes it even cooler. So let me know what you guys think again in the comments below. Thanks for hanging in there, guys. Later.